Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated economist here. So this is going to be kind of a continuation of my last video that I put out where we were talking about negative interest rates and how it is that the banking system is going to go negative and how that's going to work. Now, the idea that central banks can take their Fed funds rate down into negative, like the central bank here in the United States, and how central banks like over in Japan and Europe and other places have gone negative. When you go to take a negative interest rate on somebody's deposit, like their savings account or their checking account, most people would not allow that to happen. And that the moment that their bank is charging them to store their money, they're going to pull all their money out of the bank and just hold it in cash. So the banks knowing this, the IMF has come up with the idea of having two currencies, e-currency and cash. And now if you put your money in the bank, it's going to be held in e-currency, which is going to devalue with a negative interest rate. But if you hold your money in cash, the exchange rate to the e-currency will deteriorate over time, forcing you to put your cash in the bank. So this was the IMF's idea of how to take a deposit or, checking account or savings accounts, how to take those things into negative territory, forcing you to spend your money or do something with it, invest it, but you would not want to hold it in the bank knowing that you were going to lose money over time. But negative interest rates just intuitively just don't make sense. I mean, why would somebody loan money out knowing that they're going to get back less than what they have lent out? And banks make money off of lending money. But if you think about it, if they can take your deposit and hold on to your money and give you back less of it, that's where their profit could come in. So banks can be profitable in a negative interest rate environment if you don't take your money out of the bank. Anyway, cash. Cash is being pulled out of the banks right now at an alarming rate. I am finding articles from all over the country where people are hoarding up on their cash. They're pulling cash out of the bank right now. But something interesting I'm finding is a lot of businesses are starting to not accept cash due to the virus. They're worried that the cash is tainted and that handing it over to the teller is going to make them sick. Or to, the cashier or whoever it is that's taking the money. So the idea of having cash on hand is starting to deteriorate, considering that if you go to a business, they may not accept your cash, forcing you to have a debit or credit card. So you see what's happening here? So I got to thinking about it a little bit, and now I don't have any proof of this, but something is telling me that here in the next couple of weeks, we are going to find that banks are going to issue out less and less cash. Like you go to the cash to pull out your money out of the bank and they're only going to allow you to take out $1,000 or $500 or maybe even just $100. And they've done this in other countries where they limit the amount of cash that you can withdraw at any one time. So something I got to thinking about, it was just like, well, when these stimulus checks come out, it makes me wonder if we are going to have a banking system at the time that doesn't allow you to pull that cash out, forcing you to leave the money in the bank or spend it, which is what they want you to do, especially if it goes negative. Now, negative interest rates could be a real benefit thing if you're going to take out a loan and end up having to pay back less on the loan over time than if than when you have a positive interest rate on it. But the idea that you can put your money in the bank and lose it over time is probably not going to sit very well with most Americans. Or people in general. I mean, not just Americans. I mean, anybody. So this is something that I've been trying to find some news on. And like I said, I'm starting to find it. I'm starting to find how businesses are not accepting cash, making the cash worthless to you if you can't spend it. And I'm starting to see the idea that those stimulus checks are going to go to the bank and either stay in the bank, where the bank really needs it because they're running short on liquidity, or they're going to force you to spend it because they're going to start hitting you up with a negative interest rate. So you see what's happening here, guys? I think this is taking place. I don't have any proof of it yet, but I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. What else could it be? You know, they want to take interest rates negative, but they know that it's going to damage the banking system because people are going to pull their money out of the bank. And you can see it happening with $1 trillion in repo. $500 on an overnight repo, and then $500 billion on an overnight, and $500 billion first thing in the morning. The banks are running out of cash. They're running out of those reserves. And now the Federal Reserve is stepping in by buying municipal bonds. I don't know if you guys seen that, but that's the next step, is that the Federal Reserve is going to not just buy treasuries, but buy state and local bonds as well, muni bonds. And the idea behind that is they're trying to keep the cash flowing through these states and through the local governments, to keep people from, as the people are pulling their money out of the system, they're trying to fill the system back up with cash. So when those stimulus checks come out, what's to prevent people from pulling it out in cash, unless they force you to keep it in there because they're just not going to give you any cash, or they're going to limit the amount of cash that you can pull out. Somebody was telling me they went to go cash their check, and they were saying, yeah, you can cash it this time, but I would be wary about next time you go to cash your check, because most likely you're not going to be able to get all the cash out. It's happening here, guys. Anyway, I'll leave some links down in the description for you guys. Uneducated economist. You guys let me know.